Hello participants, I am Shabbir Ahmed, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Biotechnology, Islamia College Autonomous 1 Mbadi. In this video, we are going to learn about an important electrophoretic technique called as the agarose gel electrophoresis. This is a widely used procedure in various areas of biotechnology. It is simple but precise, and this analytical procedure is used in various research such as biomedical and forensic laboratories. The center and workhorse of agarose gel electrophoresis is the horizontal gel electrophoresis apparatus. Though there are many types of electrophoresis unit, but the horizontal electrophoresis unit is the most commonly used unit for separating DNA molecules on agarose gel. It is a method to separate DNA or RNA molecules by size. This is achieved by moving negatively charged nucleic acid molecules through an agarose matrix with an electric field. Here the shorter molecules move faster and migrate faster than the longer ones. Now, why should we perform an electrophoresis? To separate DNA fragments from each other, to determine the size of DNA fragments, and to determine the presence or amount of DNA. Now, the basic principles of electrophoresis is that any charged ion or molecule migrates when it is placed in an electric field. Now, the rate of migration of a compound depends on its net charge, size, shape, and the applied current. The basis of separation also depends on how the sample and gels are prepared. Now let us see the materials required for agarose gel electrophoresis. The first requirement is the electrophoresis chamber. Then we need an agarose gel, the gel casting tray, then the buffer, staining dye, comb, DNA ladder, and the sample which we will be separating. Now let us see the materials requirement one by one. The first is the electrophoresis equipment. If you see that it contains a gel tank in which the buffer, that is the running buffer, will be loaded. We are having a gel casting tray and the gel combs and the electrical lid and a cover which will be covered after the samples are loaded, and a power supply. Now the second thing is agarose. This agarose is a natural linear polymer extracted from seaweed. Agarose gels are more porous and have a larger pore size as compared to polyacrylamide gel, and are therefore used to fractionate larger molecules such as nucleic acid that cannot readily penetrate into and move through other types of supporting materials. It is a linear polymer of D-galactose and 3,6 anhydro L-galactose. Agarose gels are cast by boiling agarose in the presence of a buffer and then poured into a mold and allowed to harden to form a matrix. Here the porosity of gel is determined by the concentration of agarose. As I told, we use two types of agarose. That is the standard agarose LE, which gels at 35 to 38 degrees Celsius and melts at 90 to 95 degrees Celsius. it becomes opaque at higher concentrations. The second one is the low melting agarose no sieve. This gels at 35 degrees Celsius, melts at 65 degrees Celsius. Now this is often used to isolate DNA fragments from gel. As I told you, the porosity of the gel is determined by the concentration of agarose. Here we can see that we can prepare gel from 0.3% to 2%, and it depends on the separation, the molecule which we are going to separate. Higher the agarose concentration, smaller the pore size, and lower the agarose concentration, larger is the pore size. When an electric field is applied across the gel, DNA that are negatively charged at neutral molecule, that at neutral pH, they migrate towards oppositely charged electrode at rates which is determined by their molecular size and conformation. Here, since charge by mass ratio in nucleic acid is 1, rate of migration of DNA molecules is inversely proportional to log 10 of their molecular weight. That is, smaller DNA molecules will travel faster as compared to larger ones. Further, the DNA molecules of the same size but with different conformations travel at different rates. If you see the order of migration velocity in the increasing order of various forms of DNA, the supercoiled DNA will migrate faster than the linear double stranded DNA, and which in turn will travel faster than the open circular DNA. The next is the gel casting tray. This is available in a variety of sizes and is composed of UV transparent plastic. The open ends of the trays are closed with the tape while the gel is being cast, and then it is removed prior to electrophoresis. Next is the applied voltage. The higher the voltage, the faster the DNA migrates. If the voltage is too high, band streaking, especially for DNA above 12 to 15 kb, may result. Moreover, high voltage causes a tremendous increase in buffer temperature and current in very short time. The high amount of the heat and current built up in the process may lead to the melting of the gel, and sometimes DNA band smiling, decrease of DNA band resolution, and there may be a fuse blowout. Hence, it is highly recommended not to exceed 5 to 8 volt per centimeter and 75 milliampere for standard size gels or 100 milliampere for mini gels. On the other hand, when the voltage is too low, the mobility of small DNA is reduced and band broadening will occur due to dispersion and diffusion. Next is the buffer. Now the effective separation of nucleic acid by agarose or polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis depends upon the effective maintenance of pH within the matrix. Therefore, buffers are an integral part of any electrophoresis technique. The electrophoresis mobility of DNA is affected by the composition and the ionic strength of the electrophoresis buffer. Hence, without salt, electrical conductance is minimal and DNA barely moves. In a buffer of high ionic strength, electrical conductance is very efficient and a significant amount of heat is generated. Now there are different categories of buffer systems are available. Most common buffer used is the Tris buffer. These buffer systems, which are used for most forms of DNA agarose electrophoresis, this commonly contains the EDTA at pH 8 and tris acetate or tris borate, which you call it as TAE or TBE, which is prepared at a concentration of approximately 15 millimolar, and here the pH is 7.5 to 7.8. EDTA suppresses the activity of DNase. This TAE buffer is less expensive but not as stable as TBE. In addition, the TAE gives better resolution of DNA bands in short electrophoretic separation and is often used when subsequent DNA isolation is desired. And when the agarose gel electrophoresis of longer DNA where high resolution is not essential. Next is the staining of DNA. Now, to make the DNA fragments visible after electrophoresis, the DNA must be stained, and the most widely used dye or the staining material is the ethidium bromide. This gets bind to DNA and it fluoresces under ultraviolet light. It is convenient because it can be added directly to the gel and it is very sensitive. It can detect up to 0.1 microgram of DNA. Now the standard concentration used in staining DNA in gels is 0.5 to 1 microgram per ml. Now ethidium bromide is a fluorescent dye that intercalates between bases of nucleic acids and it allows very convenient detection of DNA fragments in gels. Now it gets inserted itself between the base pairs in double helix. It has a UV absorbance maxima at 300 and 360 nm and the emission maxima at 590 nm. Here the detection limit of bound DNA is 0.5 to 5 nanogram per band. Ethidium bromide, as we know, it is a mutagenic, so while handling it, we must be very careful. So there are some other alternatives, some safe dyes which is used as an alternative to ethidium bromide, such as the methylene blue, CyberSafe, and in others such as the BioSafe DNA stain, then the Watts QuickView DNA stain, Carolina BLU stain, and there are several others also. Now let us see, if you see it possesses both the advantages and as well as the disadvantages. Now if you see these stains, it is inexpensive, less toxic, and no UV light is required, and as well as it is no hazardous waste disposable. Whereas the disadvantage is that it is less sensitive and it needs more DNA in the gel and a longer staining and destaining time is required. Next is the comb. The purpose of using comb is to make the wells. Now this is placed in the liquid agarose after it has been poured. Now once the gel gets hardened, this comb is removed slowly and carefully. Now let us come to the gel loading dye. The gel loading dye is added to the DNA fragment that will be electrophoresed. This contains glycerol or sucrose to increase the density of the DNA solution, or else the sample would dissolve in the running buffer tank and not sink into the gel pocket. The gel loading buffer also contains dyes that facilitate observation of the sample during gel loading and electrophoresis. Dyes such as bromophenol blue or xylene cyanol. Since these molecules are small, they migrate quickly through the gel during electrophoresis, thus indicating the progress of electrophoresis is must. The components and concentration of the 6x loading dye usually are 0.25% bromophenol blue, 0.25% xylene cyanol, and 30% glycerol, or 0.25% bromophenol blue and 50 millimolar EDTA and 0.4% sucrose. Next is the DNA ladder. This is nothing but a solution of DNA molecules of different length. The DNA ladder consists of known DNA sizes used to determine the size of an unknown DNA sample. The DNA ladder usually contains regularly spaced sized sample which when run on an agarose looks like a ladder. This is the agarose gel electrophoresis setup. Now let us see the steps in agarose gel electrophoresis. The first step is making the gel. Here the agarose gel is prepared by combining the agarose powder and a buffer solution. Now we know that the buffer solution it may be TBE, TAE or TPA. Now first you have to weigh the agarose and transfer it into the Erlenmeyer flask, and then the prepared buffer solution is added and both the agarose powder and the buffer solution is combined. So it is better to use the flask that is several times larger than the volume of buffer. Now once both the buffer and the agarose are mixed, you can see in the left image figure that the agarose is insoluble at room temperature. Now it has to be boiled until the solution becomes clear. So gently swell the solution periodically when heating to allow the grains of agarose to dissolve. Now be careful when boiling. The agarose solution may become superheated and may boil violently if it has been heated too long in a microwave oven. Now this, as we know, this is the horizontal electrophoresis setup. The horizontal slab gels have advantages over vertical ones in that the low agarose concentration may be used since the entire gel is supported from beneath. Even here the process of loading, pouring and handling of gels are more convenient. Now once the gel is ready, now it's time to cast the gel. Before that we have to prepare the gel casting tray. Both the ends will be free. Hence first what we have to do is both the ends should be sealed and the comb has to be placed, and place the casting tray on a level surface. Next, now slowly pour the buffer and allow the agarose solution to cool slightly, and then carefully pour the melted agarose solution into the casting tray. Avoid air bubbles. Now once the agarose gets solidified, remove these tapes on both the sides and place the gel casting tray in the apparatus, in the electrophoresis apparatus. Now add enough electrophoresis buffer to cover the gel to a depth of at least 1 millimeter. Make sure each well is filled with the buffer. Now it's time to load the gel. Now carefully place the pipette tip over a well and gently expel the sample. The sample should sink into the well. Be careful not to puncture the gel with the pipetting tip. Now once the sample has been loaded, Place the cover on the electrophoresis chamber and connect the electrical leads. Connect the electrical leads to the power supply and make sure that the leads are attached correctly. Here the DNA migrates towards the anode, that is the red end, when the power is turned on. Bubbles should form on the electrode in the electrophoresis chamber. Once the current is applied, make sure that the gel is running in the correct direction. Bromophenol blue will run in the same direction as the DNA. Now, as I have told you that the stain which we will be using for this agarose gel electrophoresis is the ethidium bromide. Now we can add this ethidium bromide stain when in the gel itself, while during the cooling process. When it reaches a 40 degrees Celsius, you can add the ethidium bromide gel and mix it, swell the agarose, and then allow it to then pour it in the gel casting tray. Now once the sample is run, when the DNA is run, keep the gel on the UV transilluminator and switch on the. You can visualize your DNA bands like this. One side there will be a ladder, DNA ladder, and your sample will be seen here. Now let us see the entire step of the agarose gel electrophoresis one by one. Now first step is prepare agarose gel, that is melt, cool and add ethidium bromide and mix it thoroughly. Now the second step is pour into the casting tray with comb and allow it to solidify. Now third step is add running buffer, load the samples and marker. Then next is the run the gel at constant voltage until band separation occurs. And finally view the DNA on UV light box and show the results. Now as we know that DNA is negatively charged, when placed in an electric field, the DNA will migrate towards the positive end. An agarose gel is used to slow the movement of DNA and separate by size. Now, how fast will the DNA migrate? It depends on the electrical field, buffer, density of agarose gel and size of the DNA. Small DNA moves faster than the large DNA. Gel electrophoresis separates DNA according to size. Now let us see some of the common problems and troubleshootings. Let us see the common problems one by one. First, the DNA remains in the gel. Sometimes we get faint or no DNA bands. Sometimes there may be low intensity of DNA bands, and sometimes smeared DNA bands, curved DNA bands. Then band resolution, there may be some problem with the band resolution. Then in some cases half of the gel gets illuminated and half of it remains dark. Now let us see it one by one. Let us see the problems and the possible causes, and let us see some solutions for it. Now first, the DNA remains in the gel. There are 4 reasons for it. One may be the poorly formed gel wells. Second, excessive DNA may be loaded. Third, there may be contamination of DNA samples. And fourth, there may be some gel shift effect. So for the first, when there is a poorly formed gel wells, remove the gel combs only after complete solidification of the gel. Now pour the buffer onto the gel immediately. Now in case of excess DNA loaded, reduce the quantity of a sample. In case of contamination, make sure that your sample DNA solution does not contain precipitate. In case of gel shift effect, the presence of DNA binding protein in the sample such as ligases, phosphatases or restriction enzymes may alter DNA migration in the gel and cause the DNA to remain in the gel well. So in this case, heat these samples with SDS at 65 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes, then chill on ice, spin down and load the sample. Now the second problem may be a faint or sometimes no DNA bands. Now here there are 4 causes for it. One may be the insufficient quantity of concentration of DNA loaded on the gel. Second, the DNA might have degraded. The third, it might have electrophoresed off the gel. And fourth, ethidium bromide stained DNA, improper UV light source was used. Okay, so for the first cause, for the insufficient quantity of concentration of DNA, you can increase the amount of DNA. And here one thing is to be noted, a low concentration may be due to volume added per well width. Now in case of DNA degradation, avoid nucleus contamination in the DNA sample. Now in case when the DNA gets electrophoresed off the gel, electrophorese the gel for lesser time at a low voltage or in a higher percentage gel. Now for ethidium bromide stained DNA, we have to use short wavelength, that is 254 nm UV light for greater intensity, for greater sensitivity. Now another problem like low intensity of all or some of the bands. Now this may be due to the DNA diffusion in the gel. So for this you have to avoid prolonged electrophoresis or excessive staining and destaining procedure, as this may cause diffusion of smaller DNA fragments in the gel. Avoid long-term storage of the gel before taking a picture, as this may cause diffusion of DNA fragments and low band intensity. Now is the smeared DNA bands. Now there may be 3 reasons for this. One is the DNA might have got degraded due to nucleases. Then it may be because of high salt concentration in the sample, or it may be due to poorly formed gel wells. So in the first case, due to DNA degradation, to avoid it, use fresh electrophoresis buffers, freshly poured gels, nucleus free vials, and tips to minimize nucleus contamination of DNA solutions. Now in case of higher salt concentration in the sample, samples containing high concentration of salts may result in smeared or shifted band patterns. So here ethanol precipitation and washing the pellet with ice cooled 75% ethanol or spin column purification prior to resuspending the sample in water or TE buffer may help in eliminating the salt present in the sample. Now for the third cause, while inserting the comb in the gel, make sure that it is vertical to the gel surface, and it has to be stable during gel casting and its solidification. Now sometimes there may be curved DNA bands, and the possible 3 causes for this are gel incompletely immersed in electrophoresis buffer. Second is bubbles or physical particles in the gel wells or in the gel. Third is improper electrophoresis condition. Now in the first cause, to avoid this, the electrophoresis buffer should completely cover the entire gel during sample loading and even during running. Now to avoid the second cause, that is the bubbles or physical particles in the gel wells, use pure water, clean flask and clean equipment for preparation of gels. Pour the gel slowly, avoiding formation of bubbles, and these bubbles can be removed with a pipette tip. Now for the improper electrophoresis condition, do not use an excessively high voltage for electrophoresis. As I told you, run the gels at 5 to 8 volt per centimeter voltage. Now to minimize band curve, use a lower voltage for several minutes at the beginning of the electrophoresis. Now if there is any problem in the band resolution, this may be due to comb thickness. Now for this, thin comb, that is 1 millimeter, gives well defined bands, and thick comb gives thick bands leading to reduced resolution. So comb should be cleaned well to eliminate possible residues that causes wavy lines in the lane. Now the last problem, that is sometimes half of the gel gets illuminated and half of it remains dark. So here the reason it may be because of ethidium bromide running towards the cathode, that is the black wire end in the electrophoresis apparatus. So over time the ethidium bromide in the bottom end of the gel will get depleted. So to avoid this, add some ethidium bromide in anode, that is at the red wired end before electrophoresis. Now 50 ml gel, in 50 ml gel add 3 to 3.5 microliter of ethidium bromide before electrophoresis. After sample loading, add 7 microliter of ethidium bromide into anode chamber. Now let us see some of the safety aspects of involved in electrophoresis. Now as we all know that we will be handling or using the ethidium bromide in this electrophoresis, agarose gel electrophoresis. So this ethidium bromide is a DNA intercalating agent. It is a powerful mutagen. So it can cause incorporation of ethidium bromide in the DNA of living organisms. It may be you and me, and this may lead to unwanted mutations. Hence, to avoid this, we have to take care. So here we have some chemical resistant gloves which we use for different chemicals. Now here the list given will provide you adequate protection for more than 4 hours. Now here, since in this technique we will be using ethidium bromide, it is preferred to use nitrile gloves. And while working with ethidium bromide, minimize the amount using, that is the amount which you use, minimize it, and work in a designated labeled area. Wear 2 pairs of long curved disposable gloves when handling ethidium bromide, and a fastened laboratory coat which is correctly fitted to cover the exposed skin. Dispose of ethidium bromide containing gels as a hazardous chemical waste. Now that's all about the agarose gel electrophoresis. Thank you.